There are too many tests. There, I said it. Everybody knows it. Everybody hates it. Once you add the holidays and other days off, there is so much inconsistency that tests just create another break in the continuity of a student's education. There is no test that will swoop down and save the day. The test that will give us the key data telling us how smart, capable, or ready a student is or how effective a teacher is doesn't exist. There are way too many variables and there's too much content to cover. In order to prepare for a high stakes test, you have to know what will be tested. So what are we testing? The answer to that question is easy. English and math, right? Sort of. These are the titles of the sections you will complete during the test taking process, but this may not be all that's being tested. Depending on the district you teach in, there may be unit tests in the core and elective subjects. You also have your own tests to administer in the class. Some standardized tests, like the ASVAB, have a variety of topics. So how will you be able to teach all the topics necessary to prepare students for these high stakes tests? Technically, you don't have to. If you think about tests holistically, all tests are really just testing vocabulary and reading comprehension, which go hand in hand. The wider your vocabulary, the better your comprehension of what you are reading. The reason being is that I have taught many subjects, but the same problems arise when testing all of them. Students are either stumped by a word in the directions or they don't understand what's being asked. That is the real test. That's why high stakes tests forbid teachers from explaining the question. Because if students knew what was being asked, they could answer the question or at least have a better chance at it. Here's a real question that I asked in one of my classes. Here I am asking students to give me the average frequency of the waves pictured. The most common answer is D, but D is the sum. So based on their answers, they clearly understand frequency. But even though they counted the waves correctly, they're not sure what an average is. The answer should be B, 5. I guess I could blame this on the math teacher. Or is this a science question or a music question? It doesn't matter. What matters is that if you do not know the definition of average, you will have no idea what to do. So what else is being tested? Soft skills. These are the habits that make people successful in the workplace and in life. The main skill is time management. You have a certain amount of work to complete in a set amount of time. It is up to you how to complete it, but you must have it all done before the proctor says, put your pencils down. You also have to leave time for quality control or checking your work for fidelity to ensure you read the questions correctly and have answered them correctly. You must also come into the test knowledgeable, having memory of basic concepts, and potentially use mnemonic devices to help you retain tools and concepts that you need on hand to help you complete the test. And lastly, you have to use logic to discern the correct answers from the near correct answers. Most important on this list is definitely problem solving. Problem solving involves many skills within itself, but the one you put to work most often is imagination and visualization. The ability to visualize is key to understanding problems of any kind. You have to look up in your mind's eye or use your fingers or write it down. This is why most tests allow you to have scratch paper. Everyone knows you must be able to visualize the problems. Here's one of my favorite problem types that illustrates this. The question is asking you to fold the flat shapes in imaginary three-dimensional space and then determine which ones will be cubes. We could call this a geometry problem, but what does it actually take to solve it? First off, the vocabulary. I remember proctoring a test and students kept raising their hand, all asking the same question. Excuse me, what is a dimension? Excuse me, I don't know what dimension means. Excuse me, what is this word right here? Underlining dimension. We're back at vocabulary again. If you can get past that, then you have to imagine the shapes being folded in 3D. This takes visual problem-solving skills. The answer is C, by the way, for those of you who have been trying to figure it out and haven't been listening. So what are some of the ways to teach time management, problem solving, memory, logic, and reading for accuracy? Games. Between setting up the challenges and debates about what the rules say, you end up addressing a lot of these skills. Timed challenges or series of challenges will help you to strengthen those abilities. The types of games can vary, but anything that involves those skills, like a timed chess game, is a good place to start. You may have already invented your own game specific to your content area. And if not, there are probably resources available. In terms of training the ability to visualize, the visual arts provide an opportunity to develop these sensibilities. Whether you have students draw or build is left up to your discretion. As a teacher, you have to be able to identify the skills you want to build in your students and address them head on. Along with soft skills, there are also some character traits that are being put to the test. Students need to be patient with themselves when searching for solutions. They need to be persistent when faced with multiple unsuccessful attempts. They need to be confident in their work and answers so they are not easily misled towards seemingly correct answers. One of the biggest heartbreaks is seeing a student with the wrong answer and noticing that they had the correct answer initially and then erased it. And lastly, they need to stay poised under the pressure of the clock. Pressure is programmed into the test by directing proctors to periodically remind students how many minutes they have left until there are none remaining. Some of these can arguably be called soft skills, but I see these as being character attributes that may or may not have a directly work-relatable quality. So how do students build patience, persistence, confidence, and poise under pressure? Projects and presentation. If students get used to presenting research, experience, experiments, they will develop strength in these areas of character development. Again, you could easily argue that the arts and other extracurriculars often provide opportunities for students to perform in front of a crowd, an audience, or a classroom of their peers. Once we can get students to improve or develop these skills, then they have to deal with the natures of the questions and answers. The truth is, they're not prepared for the questions or the answers. Students sometimes expect that the questions being asked will be straightforward. They almost never are. I know that most of mine aren't. Even the answers are thought out strategically. I put questions together more or less like this. A, you have no idea what's going on. B, the correct answer since you think C is a good guess. C, wrong but seems right, and is C your favorite? And D, the answer 60% of people guess it is, but isn't. Sometimes the question is not about the answer at all. It is about the vocabulary in the question. Do they understand what is being asked? Once they do know, can they discern the answer that's hidden between intentional distractions and seemingly correct answers? Students need more help on just determining what is being asked, then picking the right strategy to isolate the best answer. So if we're going to use tests to measure students' ability, we need to make sure that they are prepared with the skills necessary to perform well on the tests. In some districts, test taking is a class you can be enrolled in, but in many it isn't. It rests on the teacher's shoulders to review the content with students well enough so they are confident with the information. But we know now that that's only part of the test. We're encouraged to focus on the content that will appear on the test. This is teaching to the test. But the test is testing so much more than the content. The test is testing character traits and soft skills that are not mandated by the curriculum, but make all the difference. If we want to see students perform better on tests, we have to start teaching how to test. We have to prepare them for the high stakes tests that they're going to take within your district, as well as any other admissions or certification tests that they will have to face in the future. This is one powerful way to put students in the position to perform well when stakes are the highest.